Putin is stunned as Ukraine destroys a convoy of giant tanks and 70 Russian soldiers in a surprise attack. Russia and Ukraine war. Ukrainian paratroopers destroyed 19 Russian tanks, 17 armored vehicles, about 70 invaders in an attack this morning. Soldiers of the 80th Airborne Brigade of the Ukrainian Airborne Forces destroyed 19 Russian tanks, 17 armored vehicles and about 70 Russian invaders in eastern Ukraine. The brigade's press service said this in a Facebook post, Ukrinform reported. On the morning of July 15, the enemy launched a massive attack on Ukrainian positions. But we were ready. The air assault troops of the 80th Brigade organized a clear tactical interaction. Apparently with other units of the Armed Forces and National Guard of Ukraine, made a surprise attack, as a result, hit 19 Russian tanks, nearly a tank company, 17 armored vehicles, APC and IFV, 1 truck and killed about 70 Russian soldiers at the occupied base, the report said. The report added that Ukrainian forces used Stugna-P, Javelin and NLAW anti-tank missile systems and RPG-7 and AT-4 grenade launchers to destroy Russian military equipment. A Russian-occupied base was wiped out this morning, shortly after the offensive by Ukrainian soldiers ended. The destruction of a large amount of aggressors' equipment in just one day is certainly not the final victory of the Ukrainian armed forces, but an important step towards bringing this victory to an end, the report said. Closer. Ukraine has killed about 38,000 Russian soldiers as of July 15. Ukrainian defense forces also destroyed 1,672 Russian tanks, 3,866 armored combat vehicles, 842 artillery systems, 247 multiple launch missile systems, 109 air defense systems, 220 combat aircraft, 188 helicopters, 681 tactical and operational grade UAVs, 155 cruise missiles, 15 warships/boats, 2,731 other vehicles and tanker trucks, and 67 pieces of special equipment.
20 minutes ago, the sunken large landing ship Saratov was raised in the port of Berdyansk. In the port of Berdyansk, a large landing ship Saratov was raised from the water, which, according to Vladimir Rogov, a member of the main council of the military-civilian administration of the Zaporozhye region, was flooded in March of this year. It turned out that the ship sunk in the port of Berdyansk turned out to be a large landing ship Saratov, although no official statements on this subject were made by the Russian Ministry of Defense. According to Vladimir Rogov, a member of the main council of the military-civilian administration of the Zaporozhye region, the ship was sunk by the crew to avoid detonation on board the ammunition. Today, in the port of Berdyansk, an operation was carried out to raise the sunken large landing ship Saratov of Project 1171 Taper. The ship was damaged as a result of the shelling of the port by Zelensky militants with Tochka-U ballistic missiles. The flooding of the BDK was carried out by the crew in order to avoid the detonation of the ammunition on board in the conditions of the fire that had begun, said Rogov. In addition, Rogov also published a photograph, which captures the moment of raising a large landing ship to the surface. It is not yet possible to assess the severity of the damage that has been in the water since March of this year. So far, there are no official comments from the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation regarding Rogov's statement.
Yesterday, President Putin held a video conference meeting with Nikolai Patrushev, Sergei Shoigu, Valery Gerasimov and Alexander Bortnikov. During the discussion of the current situation at the front, they talked about the losses of Russian troops, and Valery Gerasimov described the losses as significant. Putin stressed that the allowable losses of 30 and 50,000 people are nothing compared to the goals that will be achieved after the victory. At the meeting, the question of mobilization was raised again, and Patrushev reported that preparations for mobilization had been completed and would be carried out promptly and as soon as possible. Putin limited the new terms of the victory on August 7. That is, at first we were told that we would be liberators and literally in 2 weeks we would liberate Ukraine from the Nazis, and the local population would greet us with flowers. But so far, no important city has been captured and the population curses and sends a Russian soldier to hell. The incompetence of our military leadership leads to huge losses among the soldiers of the Russian army. Now we are confronted with the fact that losses are not important and we are starting the mobilization that we have already prepared. And now remember how many zinc coffins have already come from Ukraine to your neighbors, relatives. And why, in fact, should Ukraine be seized now? Their leadership has already stated that they will not join NATO. Why should we mobilize? Why do we have to die for some dubious interests of Putin? How many guys still have to die if it is impossible to take Ukraine by August 7th?
Putin painful retreat. When the Ukrainian army killed more than 1,000 Russian soldiers, liberated 44 villages and cities and destroyed 20 ammunition depots, Russia and Ukraine war. This week Ukraine has had great victories over the Russian military. Ukraine launched many attacks, with modern missiles provided by Britain and the United States and many Western countries. As a result, many enemy-occupied bases were blown away, more than 1,000 Russian soldiers were destroyed, more than 20 ammunition depots and Russian warehouses in the Kherson area were destroyed. Russian troops had to retreat in many areas and villages in Kherson. The Ukrainian army carried out flag planting in the villages. As of yesterday, 44 more villages have been liberated by Ukraine this week. Putin was humiliated when his army had to flee in many occupied villages and areas, after being raggedly destroyed. There are territories, densely populated localities that have been liberated. I rely only on official figures agreed with the General Staff. These are 44 localities, said Dmytro Butry, acting director of the military department. Kherson Regional Service, said at an online press conference for Kherson journalists, organized by the Center for Investigative Journalism, a Ukrinform reporter reported. Putin is extremely struggling facing the situation of running out of weapons, when the number of Russian weapons in Kherson has been almost completely destroyed. 20 ammunition depots destroyed in a week is an extremely large number. The head of the administration noted that he spoke with the troops on the front lines to liberate the Kherson region. They are very efficient and incredibly dynamic, he said. As reported, a day earlier, Ukrainian defense forces attacked 2 enemy control points and a Russian military airport in Novokakhovka.
In Ukraine, they announced the preparation of a massive strike with anti-ship cruise missiles. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzny, said that Kyiv is considering the possibility of massive anti-ship cruise missile strikes against objects in the Black Sea. According to Zaluzny, at the moment there is no need to use cruise anti-ship missiles, and Ukraine currently has only NATO anti-ship missiles in service. However, in the event of ships approaching, missiles will be fired at them. The APU is monitoring the actions in the Black Sea. The Russian ships are at a considerable distance. However, if we attempt an offensive, we will use our anti-ship missiles, Zaluzny said. To date, it is known that Ukraine is armed with anti-ship cruise missiles, Harpoon, with a range of at least 140 kilometers. However, if the United States previously transferred its missiles to Ukraine, then the real range of hitting targets in the latter can be up to 260 to 280 kilometers, which is already a very serious threat. It is not known how many foreign coastal missile systems with anti-ship missiles are in service with Ukraine. However, taking into account unofficial data, up to 12 mobile and stationary launchers could arrive in Ukraine in total.
Welcome to today's news. Ukrainian paratroopers destroy 9 Russian tanks, 7 armored vehicles, about 70 invaders. Soldiers of the 80th Air Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces have destroyed 9 Russian tanks, 7 armored vehicles and about 70 Russian invaders in Ukraine's east. The press service of the brigade said this in a Facebook post, Ukrinform reports. On July 13, the enemy launched a massive attack on Ukrainian positions. But we were ready. Air assault soldiers of the 80th Brigade, having organized a clear tactical interaction with other units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and National Guard, hit 9 Russian tanks, nearly a tank company, 7 armored vehicles, APCs and IFVs, a truck and destroyed about 70 occupiers, the report said. The report added that Ukrainian forces used Stugnapi, Javelin and NLAW anti-tank missile systems and RPG-7 and at 4 grenade launchers to destroy Russian military equipment. The destruction of such a large amount of the invaders' equipment in just one day is certainly not the final victory of the armed forces of Ukraine, but a significant step towards bringing this victory closer, the report said. 10 minutes ago, Turkish drone attacked Russian landing craft in the Black Sea. The landing craft came under missile attack in the Black Sea. the Bayraktar TB2 strike unmanned aerial vehicle struck a landing craft of an unknown type in the waters of the Black Sea. The corresponding video was distributed by Turkish information resources. In the presented video frames, you can see how the Bayraktar TB2 unmanned aerial vehicle is tracking an unidentified type of landing craft, and a few seconds later strikes it with ammunition. Judging by the video, there was also a second drone in the area. Despite the powerful explosion that thundered on board the boat, it has not yet been possible to confirm its flooding. Judging by the video footage, we can talk about the Soviet landing craft of the Project 1176 Shark, which are in service with several countries of the world. However, the insufficiently high quality of the video does not allow us to establish this very accurately. Considering the presented video footage, the boat was near a small island. Taking into account the data of the Turkish Resource Clash report, we can talk about Zmeni Island, where two unknown marine objects were also hit a few days ago. So far, we have not been able to obtain any details on this matter.